This is Euronews Now. I'm Raul Son. It's great to have you with us. Let's take a look at our top stories. The US has accused Russia of weaponizing food as Moscow insists sanctions must be reviewed if it is to open Ukraine's Black Sea ports and allow grain exports. Euronews speaks to citizens from Mariupol who say that they've had to go through filtration camps to leave the city, where they're interrogated. After American Forrest Whitaker receives the Palme d'Honneur at Cannes, we take a look at the latest documentary by his organisation on the conflict in South Sudan.
Russia has made it clear that the Black Sea ports will remain blocked unless sanctions against the country over the war in Ukraine are lifted. This is impossible according to the sanctioners. However, the tug-of-war between Russia and Ukraine's allies is leaving tons of grain to rot in these ports, which could lead to starvation in the four corners of the world.
The numbers have escalated in terms of those marching to starvation, from 80 million to 135 before COVID, and then because of COVID, 135 to 276 million people marching to starvation. And that number, because of the Ukrainian crisis, will rise to 323 million at least. Truly, failure to open those ports in Odessa region will be a declaration of war on global food security, and it will result in famine and destabilization and mass migration around the world.
The US accuses Russia of using hunger as a weapon.
No. The decision to weaponize food is Moscow's, and Moscow's alone. Don't take my word for it. Even Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, former Russian president, recently said that Russia's agricultural products were, and I quote, its quiet weapon, end quote.
Meanwhile, on Thursday, the Senate overwhelmingly gave the green light to a new aid package for Ukraine worth $40 billion, some 37.8 billion euros.
Well, the EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, is meeting with Filippo Grandi, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, here in Brussels today, alongside development ministers from across the EU, to discuss the ongoing food crisis that's evolving out of the Russian occupation and war in Ukraine. We know that important grains as well as fertilizers are not being exported from Ukraine around the world. This could tip millions of people into a situation of famine, mass starvation, malnutrition, which could last many years. Now, the UN has said it's had ongoing contacts with the Russian government, with the Russian military, to try to resolve the issue, but has not been successful so far. Shona Murray, Euronews, Brussels.
The war in the south of Ukraine continues, with reports of limited Ukrainian counterattacks bringing territorial gains. Let's cross to the region now and speak to our international correspondent, Annalise Borges, who's been embedded with local forces there. Thanks for joining us, Annalise. So tell us, what have you heard and seen so far?
Well, we've been coming to this area for the last couple of days now. We have been allowed here with some of the Ukrainian soldiers who are fighting to retake the city of Kherson. Kherson is to the southeast of where I'm standing, some 60 kilometers or so from here. Is the first city to be occupied by Russian troops, and it represents the focal point of the fighting here in the south of Ukraine. We are now in a military barrack. I cannot show you around because we cannot identify this place, but we are safe in a safe area. These soldiers have been telling us that from here, some 30 kilometers is the line of contact. We were allowed close to that line of contact yesterday, not to the front line itself, but to the second line of defense. That's where troops are amassing and trying to prevent Russian troops from regaining territory. And what we've seen is really towns and villages scarred by fierce fighting. We also met civilians stuck in these areas saying that they have nowhere else to go to, that they are staying put. They don't want to give their homes, their lives away. We also spoke to these soldiers who, despite having fought for almost 3 months now, remain in high spirits, saying that they are able to hold ground and in some instances even push forward. They say they are going to retake Kherson. Is just a matter of time.
And we also understand that you've been able to speak to people in mostly Russian-occupied Mariupol in the east. Tell us, what have you heard from them?
Well, we've been speaking to residents of Mariupol who told us that many people are still trying to leave the city, but that they have to go through a filtration camp. The woman that told us this said that she doesn't need to go through, she's older than 60, but that every woman under the age of 60, as well as all men, have to go through these filtration camps and be interrogated to be able to leave. She also said that some residents started to go back to Mariupol, those who left the city but were in surrounding areas also occupied by Russian troops. She said that now people are getting some humanitarian aid. They have access to food, but that water, clean water, is still very difficult to find. She also described how the city has started to look very different, not only because of the destruction, the widespread destruction across Mariupol, but also because of road signs that have been changed from Ukrainian language to Russian language. She said that she has been asked to go to the new authorities and register her property, otherwise she's going to lose everything that she owns. She's going to lose her apartment. And she said that they are under an almost complete blackout, no internet connection and very little mobile phone signal. We were able to talk to her through an app and she had to drive quite a few kilometers to get to a place where she could actually get cell reception. She also described, of course, a city in ruins. Mariupol has seen the worst in this fighting and has become a bit of a symbol of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
3, 2.
Boeing's Starliner space capsule is expected to reach the International Space Station sometime on Friday, after taking off on Thursday from Cape Canaveral in Florida. It's the third attempt by the US aerospace giant to reach the ISS with the Starliner, which has been dogged by numerous failures and false starts. Only a test dummy is on board, but if the capsule reaches the station and everything else goes well, 2 or 3 NASA test pilots could strap in by the end of this year or early next for the company's first crewed flight. The drawn-out test flight programme has cost Boeing approximately €567 million so far.
The story of a young Senegalese man captured in his village in 1917 to serve alongside the French in World War I has opened the Cannes Film Festival in the Certain Regard category. Tirailleurs features Omar Sy, star of the Netflix series Lupin, as his father, who also enlists in order to watch over his son. The film, also known as Father and Soldier, is shot with a handheld camera and shows the horror of war for these men and thousands of African fighters who were torn from their native country to fight on the front line in a cold and unknown region under the French uniform. According to the festival's director Thierry Frémaux, the film arrived late in the selection, but it conquered the public on its opening night. Beyond the horror of war, the film puts the tormented relationship of a father and his son at the centre of the film. The father who just wants to bring his boy home alive, and the son who has been galvanised by military ambition and threatens to escape him. The film is also an opportunity to remind us that according to various sources, at least 30,000 African fighters died for France on the battlefields during the First World War.
We're going to take a short break now. Stay tuned for more. You can also head to our website, euronews.com, for more news and analysis.